take advantage of any and every opportunity because there really is no failure. They're all steps forward, and there's learning in everything. And I
Oh,
think we have
wow.
to, you know, I think we do ourselves a disservice when we're so fearful of failure. It's really important to learn how to fail forward, to have that growth mindset.
Wow. Awesome. So today we're joined by the great, the most amazing Farah. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. Thank you for just taking your time to, help those who really need it. And so from a point perspective and from everybody on our side on the team, we'd like to thank you for taking the time out to do that with us today.
Thank you for having me today. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh man, so could you please just tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us a little bit about your background and where you come from.
Sure. So I'm of Indian descent, but I was born in Kenya. I
Okay.
grew up, I was raised and educated and worked in Canada.
Okay.
So I did my background is I have a Bachelor of Science, and I worked in the purchasing industry for about 20 years with large corporations like GE and Bechtel. I spent 7 years living and working in Switzerland, and for the past 5 years, I've been here in the UK, where I have retrained as an English teacher, and I
Oh, wow.
provide English coaching for professionals and people who have an intermediate to advanced level of English that want to improve it to expand their professional opportunities.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. It's really a scope. And one thing that catches me so much about, how you've spoken about your journey is everywhere that you've lived. How does it feel having gotten up and packed up and moved from place to place and to now reside where you do?
So, every new country that you go to, it's always some exciting things. There's always new ways of being, new people, but of course, there's always challenges. There's challenges in learning new languages, in
Yeah.
adapting to new cultures, and understanding the way things work. So, you have both sides. You have the excitement as well as the challenges.
Mhm. And just on that note, do you feel that that contributes to where you've ended up today, in your career and in your life path? Do you feel that all of that contributed to that?
Absolutely. So one of the things that that really drew me to going into teaching English was when I was in industry. I was doing a job that I wasn't particularly passionate about. I'll
Oh,
just be honest.
wow.
But I was really successful, and I was given really great opportunities. But what I had noticed was that I was working alongside people from various different cultures and countries. We had projects in 35 different countries. And a lot of these people were actually smarter than me, and they worked harder than me. And unlike
Oh,
me, they were so passionate about their job. And I found that what gave me the advantage over them was just my ability to communicate in English, to be
oh,
clear and
wow.
concise, and understanding the culture of doing business in English. And that really is what led me to sort of change direction and find my passion and do what I am doing today.
That's really interesting to hear you say, because I know something that's quite profound in our generation, or a millennial generation, is that stepping out and doing what we're passionate about is something that we're really tapping into. How did that all feel for you, having had to confront the reality that you were not doing what you were passionate about, and that it made you uncomfortable, and that you wanted to do something that sort of set your soul on fire? How did you deal with the reality of that?
So I think I always had that feeling inside of me, but it was only once I had my children and I was working long hours, and I sort of decided that anything that was really going to take me away from my children had to be something that was worthwhile. And it was difficult because it wasn't just that. I also had probably a lot of expectations and pressure from family about what I should be
Yeah.
doing, about leaving something that was safe and successful and going into the unknown and just sort of
Yeah.
trying something new. So there were some challenges of sort of letting go of the voices that I was hearing around me and all the external
Yeah.
noise to really go inside and decide what direction and path I wanted to take.
Yeah, and for a lot of aspiring moms out there, moms to be, what advice can you give them about juggling a work life and a personal life?
So I think there's a misconception that you can do both perfectly. I think there is always going to be a little bit of guilt one way or the
I
other.
love the
And
honesty.
so, yeah, so the balance kind of shifts. And I think when you sort of just kind of come to that acceptance, you're able to deal with it. And you're just going to know that there are moments when your work is going to take a little bit more priority. And there's other times you're going to have to put that on the back burner while your family is your priority. And I think as long as you don't swing too far either way and just keep a balance. But like in life, nothing is ever perfectly balanced all the time, right?
Yes, exactly. And for you to just be this courageous, bold, incredible person that you are, who's inspired you to be that way?
Really, it was my parents. I they brought us to Canada when we were quite young, and I just saw them adapting to a new country, a very different country than what Kenya was. And how they developed their resiliency and their work ethic, and how they were able to raise children in a new culture where they didn't know a lot about it, and that just sort of taught me a lot about what is possible, the work ethic that's needed, and what you can really achieve.
100%. And I think for a lot of people that it's in that proximity that there were people close to them. And I'm so happy to hear that for you. And from a business side, do you have a mentor that has pushed you, that has walked alongside you along the journey? Do you have someone that is a business mentor?
Yes, I do. Her name is Dr. Zabin Visram, and what really drew me to her is that she was a refugee from Uganda that settled in the UK. She lost her father at a very young age, grew up with all these siblings, and she recently just completed her PhD in pluralism in education.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of her work informs my teaching, which is belongingness and how that really impacts a student's ability to learn. And just from her own background, I think she brings she has a lot to offer in terms of her research.
Oh, wow. Can you just tell me a little bit more about, you said something that touches on a bit of your work, which is belongingness. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So, I find this is one of the biggest things that I find with my students is they really, especially when you're learning a second language or a different language or you're in a different country, there's a lot of vulnerabilities. And when you're feeling vulnerable, you can go into a flight or fight mode.
Oh, wow.
And the biggest thing that I've tried to bring to the environment where I'm teaching is the sense of belonging, is this sense of inclusiveness and a sense of safety. Because when you do that, it really calms the learner down and they're able to absorb whatever you're teaching. They're receptive and they're really able to make the most of their learning. And I think that is first and foremost the first thing I feel that I bring to any teaching, any lesson, or any session that I do.
That's absolutely incredible, because I know so many people that are very apprehensive about studying another language that is to their second nature because of that exact feeling. And so the fact that you've been able to capture that and bring in a very necessary psychological aspect, I think is so awesome. And I think it gives us a great idea about how we can conquer things that actually we fear,
Exactly,
which is
exactly.
which is awesome. And it's in learning a language and learning to communicate, I've found that as a generation, and as I immerse myself into the business world, I find that it's not only communication that people struggle with, but comprehension as well. So
Absolutely.
on
Absolutely.
that basis, I just appreciate that you've taken the time to just help the systems operate with a little bit more oil on them.
That's a great way of putting it.
Oh no, definitely is. It definitely is. And so
come. And it was just such a wake-up call from a young
Wow.
child that made me go, no, I have to make a change. And literally within 2 weeks, I had completely decided to change. I left the job and I just said, right, this is the time. And I felt I really needed more work-life balance.
Yes. And so what does rest look like for you?
Sorry?
What does rest look like for you? So if you're taking a day off, what does rest look like for you?
So a rest day for me really would, first of all, it always includes some form of mindfulness, whether that's breathing, meditation, or yoga. I always include some sort of movement in my day. For me, movement really helps settle me. It helps balance me, it sort of stabilizes me, and brings me into my body. So I'm actually able to calm my thoughts down. And then it would be, things to do with self-care, whether it's meeting a friend and enjoying some great conversation, spending time with my family, something like that.
Oh man. And just as we begin to wrap up and close off, is there any advice that you could give to anyone starting out in their respective fields, starting out in the workplace, a graduate that's entering into the market? Is there any advice or golden nugget that you could give them?
I think the biggest thing I could say is to follow your passion. You're going to have a lot of noise about things you should be doing or directions that you should be taking, but anything is possible. And if you follow, your passion, that's just where joy, it's just going to lead you to your joy. And if you go against that, it's going to be a harder struggle anyways, and you might have to reroute eventually back to there. So I would say just start from there, and calm the noise down and follow your passion.
Oh man. And with all this noise in the background, I'm not sure if you can hear all of it. It's so much. I'm so, so sorry. And I hope that we can work around that noise because you've given us so much insight today. So I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you so much for taking the time out and just being honest with us about your journey and for sharing with us and being so open. Like I said in the beginning, us and everybody at Point are so grateful and thank you for that.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh man, and I know that you do offer some courses. Where could we access them? Where could we promote them? Because I really think it's something that people can benefit from.
The best place to go is to my website, which is www.prizestep.com.
Okay.
And I've also got a YouTube channel where I put bite-sized English lessons that you can access each week. And that's, again, the handle for that is PrizeStep. And you can, check out my other social media from there.